Hi, I'm so happy that you're here with me on another 5 Things Friday. This week I'm answering reader questions again. And before we get started, I have a bonus, question number 6, which I had to share because I thought it was funny. After one of the last 5 Things Friday, a reader emailed me and said, "Are your glasses real or are you faking it?" They're real, they're totally real. Usually I wear contacts, but sometimes I wear glasses, okay? I love it when readers send me questions, and I'm excited to answer some this week for you. So, right to it. Number 1, where do you get your recipes and do you actually bake? Well, the second part is easy. Yes, I bake. I love to bake. Baking is my life. I grew up baking in the kitchen with my mom and my grandmother and my aunts, and I do, like Jules talks about in the Bake Shop Mysteries, think of food as a love language. In terms of recipes, they come from everywhere. So my family, me, and then of course inspiration from lots of places. For instance, in Meet Your Baker, the very first recipe in the book is for raspberry Danish. And that is my mom's recipe, and a recipe I remember her making in my childhood. On Saturday mornings, my brother and I would be watching cartoons in the basement, and I could smell the Danish baking, and it seemed like it took forever, hours and hours. And then I made it for the first time as an adult, and it's like 30 minutes. It's so easy. It's delicious. It's perfect for fall breakfasts. In fact, if you have a copy of Meet Your Baker at home, you should go open it up right now and make that Danish. Also in the first book in Meet Your Baker, my dad's recipe for his mocha almond torte is in that book, and it's a very decadent, beautiful, layered torte where my dad will like hand pipe buttercream and place almonds and apricot filling. It's delicious. My sister, one of my very favorite recipes is from my sister. It's for cilantro chicken, and I can't remember what book it's in now, but somebody, you'll probably tell me, right? Or I'll look it up and add it in later. Family recipes are so fun for me to share, and it feels like a gift to get to pass those on to you. I love to bake myself. I'm constantly experimenting in the kitchen, which drives my husband and son crazy because unless I'm working on a book and I'm kind of finalizing a recipe, when I bake, I tend to just experiment and throw things together, which is fun. But then sometimes if I go to recreate my experiment, it doesn't always turn out the same. And then lastly, I have a huge collection of cookbooks. A perfect Saturday afternoon for me is sitting in front of the fire and just like leafing through cookbooks. So I definitely get inspiration from cookbooks and magazines and amazing chefs and pastry artists who I follow on Instagram. Number 2, what's the hardest thing about writing? Ugh, that question is hard. Honestly, for me, I think the hardest thing about writing is having enough time. I have so many ideas for stories, and because I'm an observer, I spend a lot of time watching what's happening out in the world, and there are stories everywhere and so many stories waiting to be told. In my office, I have stacks of notes that I've written on the back of napkins and scraps of paper and story ideas waiting to be born, and I don't have enough time to actually make them all happen. So that's the hardest part for me. I want more time. Number 3, do you have any writing rituals? Oh, I'm sort of nervous to answer this question because it is going to highlight the fact that I'm a little obsessive compulsive. The answer to that question is absolutely yes. When I'm working on a new book, my office becomes that book. So as of right now, I've been working on a special holiday bake shop book that's coming out in 2019. And when I was drafting the first draft of that book, my entire office was just posters of Christmas and decadent holiday desserts and snow. I had a Fraser fir candle that I would light. I was listening to an Elizabethan holiday playlist. I often edit, not often, I always edit series in a pen that matches the book that I'm working on. So when I edit that manuscript in a little while, I'll probably be editing in red and green. So yeah, I have just a few rituals, but I like my rituals. They help me get into a character's space and create a world. And I think there's something about ritual that then the moment I sit at my desk, it just really helps the creative energy flow. Number 4, do you have a favorite book out of all of the books that you've written? Ooh, that's also a difficult question. You guys, you're bringing it. I would have to say that out of every book that I've written, I don't know if favorite is the right word, but the very first book that I wrote was a memoir about losing my mom to young onset and becoming a mom. And when I was an aspiring writer in my 20s and my early 30s, I would go and I would hear writers speak, and they would always talk about a book that they had in them that they had to write. And I never understood that. And to be honest, I've never really believed that that was true. It seemed like something that you would just say. And then when my mom got sick, I realized I had to write that story for myself, if for nothing else. And it was such a healing process, and I felt like I really made her whole again, and I understood so much more about her from a different lens and with some distance. So I would say that that book is probably the nearest and dearest to my heart. And that's also the book that really cracked me open to then what did I want to write? And of course, as I'm sure we all can imagine, clearly that's mysteries. Number 5. Why do you think readers devour your cozies? Well, obviously the food. No, I think readers devour cozies, not just my cozies, but cozies in general, for 2 reasons. The first is that I know sometimes they get a bad rap for being light, but they are cerebral at their core. The whole concept of a mystery is piecing the clues together. So you, the reader, have the same opportunity as the sleuth to figure out who the killer is. Everything is there on the page. It's just a matter of whether you figure it out first or whether the sleuth figures it out first. Now, hopefully as a writer, I'm sending you astray on red herrings and dead ends, and you're not going to figure it out. That's always my goal. But mysteries are a puzzle, and I think that's one of the reasons that they've lasted and they keep enduring the test of time. And then the second reason that I think that cozies are so popular right now is because in the grander picture of the world, obviously there's a lot of chaos and strife and fighting. And in the cozy, the concept is everyone in a community comes together. Something tragic happens that brings a community together, and everyone's invested in figuring out how to repair normalcy in their space and in their town as a collective. And I think there's something about that sometimes in the real world, we don't ever feel like we have closure or control over things. And if you read a cozy, you sort of know that something bad might happen at the beginning, but at the end, a killer is going to be brought to justice, and everyone is going to feel like they were part of solving something as a community, which I think is really kind of beautiful. I'm eager to hear from you, though. Why do you read cozies? Why do you devour them? There have to be other reasons. I mean, obviously, the recipes and the food, right? Thank you so much for being here with me on another 5 Things Friday. I will always answer more reader questions, so if you have them, be sure to comment below, as well as subscribe and click the bell to get notified when I upload a new video.